dude, I was at a hockey game, like, oh my God, like an hour and a half away from Austin. And like, he called me up, and I remember like my friend, like, because I took the call at the hockey game, and he's like, don't answer the phone, man. Don't answer that phone. He's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, I'm just going to take it. And I'm like, I picked it up, and I'm like, yeah, dude, I got to like ditch. They want me. And he's like, I can't believe you're going to leave this hockey game.
Here we are, man. It's happening.
Hey, what's up? How's it going?
So thanks for taking the time, man. It's great to have you here. And
no, thanks for having me.
Yeah,
I greatly appreciate it.
It's awesome. It's a crazy idea I had. Just sit down with some photographers, talk about photos, and kind of the story behind them. Just give them some more context, because oftentimes you see a photo and you're like, oh, that's really cool. But then sometimes there's like a way cooler story behind it. It's like, oh yeah, I took this while I was, hanging off a harness off a helicopter, and you're like, what?
Yeah, I'm nothing that cool.
I mean,
no helicopters.
Yeah,
yet.
No helicopters yet. Well, I haven't got a helicopter yet either, so I'm not world class like that yet. But let's get right into it. You probably saw this one, probably on my Instagram recently. Yeah, there it is, that one.
Yeah, that's amazing, man.
Yeah, so
that's just something I'd want to get into.
Yeah, it was like kind of my first like real delve into like starting to Photoshop, because I like photoshopping images to the point where like they definitely look like they've been photoshopped. They're not like totally unnatural looking, but I see photos sometimes where they're just over the top. They're obnoxious. They're just like you just can't tell what's going on. There's too much going on. And this was like heavily inspired by like Peter McKinnon.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so because like years ago he did a video about like there's something stupid like a levitating mug or whatever, and I'm like, well, I love playing cards, and I had like this kind of weird quirky idea in my head. So I took this photo in my 300 square foot apartment, just kind of like jimmied this little rig up to get it, and I just like hung the card from like a string.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was just gonna ask. Like, how did you get the angle? Was it 2 strings and then you kind of?
No, literally, like I just like hung it by a string, and then it would kind of sit there and like bob back and forth.
Oh, okay.
And I would just sit there and like take pictures, and I actually took the picture of the card first, just nothing, just the card. And I had that like black background, and then I went back in later, and I just I added the hand, and then I was like, maybe I could use some smoke.
Mm-hmm.
So I started working with some vector files. It was the first time I'd ever like really worked with those. I just felt it. I'm like, it's kind of one of those things. Like a few hours went by, and I was like, you know what? This is kind of a dope photo. Just kind of one of those dumb things that you start with this crazy idea, and then you kind of just go with it. And it's also kind of like a testament to the fact that like you can make cool photos without like, the studio costs like $40,000. So it's like, you don't need all that money to do something cool.
Yeah.
So
I guess like, yeah, this first photo. So this is Sharptooth. I met these cats at a Planned Parenthood benefit show.
that's a really interesting way to meet someone.
Yeah, no doubt. It was like, well, a buddy of mine, Ryan O'Leary, who's like the bassist for Fit for a King.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so he's got a side project because he's from my neck of the woods. He's from Red Hook.
He's right from down that way.
Yeah, so he had an off-road minivan as his like other project. So they were playing that show, but I ended up meeting this band and hooking up with them. They're from Washington, D.C. And yeah, it was just cool, man. That photo right there ended up being in AP magazine.
Oh,
like
come
they
on,
used it, and that was like months later. It was like, oh man, it had to be like 6, 7, maybe like 6, 7 months later. And I didn't even think they really remembered who I was. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like we just hooked up, we hung out probably for a good hour. I ended up becoming really good friends with the guitar player Lance. And he just hit me up one morning. He like showed me that picture. He's like, hey man, do you have the original to this, like the raw?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, man. He's like, yeah. He's like, we just got interviewed for AP magazine, and he's like, yeah, I want to. He's like, we really want to use this as the main image
Nice.
to the magazine. I'm like, yo, thanks. And that's like probably one of like the worst photos I've ever taken. Like it's so grainy. I mean, it looks really good on Instagram on like a small screen, but like when you pull it apart, it's a little grainy. But it's still one. It was a tough shot. It was a tough venue, so like it has a lot of like sentimental value to me. Obviously, just because it was the first published image I've ever had.
Oh yeah.
And like, just because, yeah, it was cool. And it was like, yeah, to me, it was like a lousy photo. It was like just the luck thing. It was like, yeah. And I had to, like, the color was so bad that I had to turn it into a black and white photo. It was like red, like
Yeah.
it's just,
Oh, yeah.
it was horrible. But yeah, it's one of those fluke things where like, yeah, you think you did a bad job, and like it ended up being like one of the coolest things I've ever done. And then like gateway into other, like, because then once you're an AP, then like other bands start noticing you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just like it's
what I always say, like, you know somebody who knows somebody, and that's like the whole thing about, especially if you want to break into like working in music photography, especially because it's kind of one of these mysterious worlds where you're like, how do I get into that? And it's like, well, just ask.
Yeah, no.
Literally just ask somebody, and you'll meet somebody, and then they know other people, and you never know, you might meet the band, meet the artist, whatever, and you really just have no idea where it's gonna go.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, that's all I did. It was just you just start small. I mean, I think the biggest issue in the realm or the genre of like just music, right? Getting into music or entertainment photography is like, I think people's expectations at first are so high. Like they're like, oh, I want to shoot like Slayer, like say, like, yo, I'm just gonna go after them, and like that's what I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna be their photographer. And the reality is like, no, you're not. Yeah, it's like they already have their crew.
Yeah, they don't need to ask anybody.
Yeah, and half the time it's like the management anyway. It's not, you're not even dealing with the bands half the time. It's always like the TM or the general manager that you're getting in through, because like. So, for instance, like when I worked with Flux Pavilion, like it was the same thing. It was like he didn't even know who I was until I like met him at the show, and he's like, "Oh, you're my photographer for the evening." And I'm like, "Yeah, totally." He's like, "Yeah, like so and so told me you were coming," and it's like that's the reality.
Yeah, because they're going through so many venues, so many places. Like they're meeting so many people. Yeah, it's just like. Totally. They're not going to remember the random photographer from New York or whatever.
No, definitely not, man. Not unless like they're homies and like they're going on a tour with them. Yeah, like that's it.
Exactly, which is actually kind of funny because that's kind of how like my next photo and this is this leads into the story of how you and I met actually, because this is and this is like a testament to how you get started. Because so this is a picture of my friend Casey from New Jersey. Now, he was opening for Breaking Benjamin. Now, I didn't know he was going to be there. I actually texted my friend Brianna, who's friends with Ben, the singer. And I had shot literally one concert before I had gone and done this. And so I just texted her, and I was like, hey, I'm trying to get like into, more concert photography. Can you get a hold of Ben or whoever and see if I can like get a pass to go shoot? And she's like, yeah, sure. So she called up Jerome, their tour manager, and he was like, yeah, sure, he can come. He can come shoot. So then I took this photo. This is like one of the first photos I took at that show. And I actually sent it to him, and he loved it. Right, and that's kind of where the growth starts from.
My buddy, I was like going Super Future. Shout out to my boy Nick. He's the man. I love that dude. So I did like a 2-day run with him, and from Dallas to Houston, and we shot. I had to get this family photo. I didn't know we were gonna take a family photo, and like so like. It was like right at the end or like kind of towards the end of his set, and he's like, yo, let's get this family photo, and he just like kind of announces it. So I had to hop up on this platform real quick, and it took me probably like 3 minutes. And like thankfully he's such a chill dude that like I would take the picture and I'm like, no, this ain't it. And he's like, no. And he's like, all right, you guys want to just hang out one more minute? Like, let my boy adjust his camera. And like, I felt so stupid. Like I was slowing the show down. Yeah. But like, yo, the last picture that I got, it ended up being a pretty banger family photo. And it was like, that was cool. Like, yeah, it's funny. Like, yeah, how that happens, man. Yeah. It's just, I don't like, yeah, it's crazy.
All right, yeah, so I got to know about this one.
Yeah, so these are my boys. This is Goldfish. These are like the original OGs for me. This was like the first time I got hired for professional like musicians, and like the story behind me even meeting them was, Derek Jones, right, from Chimera magazine. Like he was like the dude who was kind of like pretty much like coordinating all the photographers for the magazine. Yep. So he was supposed to shoot them at this Samsung event. He was friends with this promoter girl who worked for I forget her name, and I apologize if you see this and I forget your name. I'm pretty sure she worked for Corona Electric Beach, but had like at the time she was PR for them. For Goldfish, and it was a Samsung music event. He couldn't make it, so he asked me to bail him out. So I went down to the city, I shot that event, and posted the pictures, and they ended up liking them. So their next tour around, they were on tour with Parov Stellar, and they just hit me up like 3 weeks before they were coming into New York, and they're like, hey, we got these back-to-back shows in New York. It was like Terminal 5, and I think at the time it was called PlayStation Theater, and in like Manhattan Center. And yeah, dude, like they were like, yo, how much do you charge? And like I didn't even know what to charge. I think I charged them like $150 a day, which was like ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I was hanging out with them for quite a bit. I mean, it was like almost a half a day each day. Like they wanted BTS promo shots each day and then shots of the show.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah, for $150.
Yeah, that's
but
a
like,
lot of
I mean,
work.
for me, but I was just so grateful that like professional musicians, especially at their level, right? Their caliber, like just it was the best feeling in the world, man. And ever since then we've just been like homies, and like that actually kind of boosted my reputation in the EDM community, because at the time their manager Jay Roigvin was part of C3 management, and like so it kind of like, I don't know, it got me into like, you know, give me like props. I was just like, now I could flex a little bit and be like, hey, like now when I was applying for other jobs, I could be like, yo, I shot Goldfish. You know what
exactly.
I'm saying? Like, these dudes hired me.
It's like you have that you know, the little bit of like, well, these are some of the people I've shot.
Yeah,
know? And then
like
be
personally, as
know.
opposed to like not attaching myself to a magazine anymore.
Yeah.
Because like I think there's the difference too. It's like when you're attaching yourself to a magazine, everybody wants it's like free, like you're not charging anybody for it. I don't feel you're like in the profession yet, and I'm not like downing anybody that works for like I mean, obviously if you're like Rolling Stone AP or something like that, where their press is getting paid. Yeah. But like for freelancers coming up in the scene who aren't getting paid and don't, like, nobody's expecting to pay them. Yeah. It's like different, you know? So like you're still low man on the totem pole until like you get like that one gig, right?
Yeah, you get involved with that.
Totally. And like, they just got clout.
That's funny. Which is funny you mentioned that, because like, so this photo I got here, now kind of rewind back to the last photo I did, you know, it was at Breaking Benjamin. So the guy I met there in the pit, he worked for a magazine. And he was like, hey, dude, we actually need, like, somebody in, like, the New York area to, like, shoot shows. And he's like, is that something you'd be interested in? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And so I got hooked up with their magazine, their editor, and they're like, yeah, sure, we'd love to have you. We like your work. And so they just said, well, here's a list of shows we'd like you to do, and, like, add any kind of shows that you would like to do. And I was like, all right, cool. So then one of the shows I ended up doing was this show, which was the Dirty Heads. And it's kind of like it's like just super, super dark. It was just Dustin.
Perfect picture, though.
Yeah, it's such a cool. Now here's the thing about this picture, okay? Because this is, I can't take 100% credit for this, because in this picture, in the original, because of the lighting, you could see like a little bit of the microphone stand, and I was kind of like, it's okay, I don't mind. And my mom, who's a photographer, she's like, no, come on. She's like, stop being lazy. She's do it right, get rid of that. And so I'm like, fine, I did. And I'm like, and I was like, no, I like it way better. You're right. You know, I ended up, it was a way better photo. And then after the show, that's where I met you. Yeah. So that's kind of like one of these full circle things where it's like you meet somebody, and then you meet somebody, and then you meet somebody.
Yeah, no doubt.
You know?
That's why that's the reason why I've always wanted to be in I mean, I love music, but like the people that you meet while you're shooting music, whether it's fans, other photographers, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's cool, man. Like, I love the connection. Like, I love things that happen, like this interview, like, let's say, like, it's other cool things spawn from it, man. And then, like, you just help each other out. I mean, like, I don't know. It's awesome. So here's another. This is like just a cool like backstage photo. This has got a cool story. Like, so this is Carly Coma from the band Candiria. Okay. So like when I was in high school, I was in love with these dudes. This was like my first. I mean, besides Metallica when they were cool, or when I liked them, they were heavier. But so this was like the first band I like really got into, and it was cool because like I briefly met them on Warped Tour when I was palling around with Ryan and Fit for a King. Yep. Like I got to shoot those guys. guys, and we got to hang out and meet all the bands on Warped. And they invited me to this show. But like, what was special about this show, it was their 20-year reunion on Beyond Reasonable Doubt, which was their first album. And it was cool because 20 years ago on that day, I saw them for the first time at that venue.
Oh.
And it was like just special. And like, I was nervous even like going, I normally don't fangirl out or whatever, but like when you meet your idol, like this was way bigger than me hanging out with Shakira, honestly. Like this was just like the bomb. And, so like, yeah, I was just like, hey man, can I just get like a quick picture of you? And he's like, yo man, come in for a hug, dude. He's like, let's get a picture together. But it was just like, it was just cool, like the story, like that was the first time I went to a concert by myself with my best friend, man. We saw this band 20 years ago on that day at that venue. And I was just like, what? It was just like, that was probably the coolest, one of the coolest moments in my photo history, like being a music photographer, like moments like that.
Yeah.
When you grow up just like listening to people, like, and you idolize these bands and then getting to work with them, it's just like so surreal. It's like the best feeling in the world, man.
Oh, it's like that for me with like Breaking Benjamin.
Yeah,
I listened to them when I was a teenager.
Yeah, they
too.
have such an influence on you as a person.
And I just remember being in the pit. I'm like, I cannot believe I'm here. Oh, I'm like pinching myself. And is this really happening?
Yeah, totally.
You know. So like, I definitely can resonate with that kind of feeling. You know, you get to it's unlike any other kind of feeling. I think, you know?
And again, it's not like the coolest photo. It's not like the sharpest. I mean, it's got some cool like back to like BTS vibes. You know what I'm saying? There's like the kind of like the rundown venue with like all the band stickers on the door of every band that's been there. There's signatures on the wall. It's just like so metal to me.
Yeah.
Everybody's rehearsing, getting ready to go on stage in the background. It's just like, it's not like the dopest picture, but
that's
it just means a lot to me.
Yeah, but that's it's like the whole purpose of like why I wanted to do this, right? Because somebody might see that photo and be like, oh, it's a
it's
picture.
like sub-bar,
it's
totally.
a picture, like whatever. But then like you explain everything that's going on behind it, and you're like, oh, that's dope. Like that's really cool. I got kind of like my start in like landscape because that was kind of just. That's what you had, like I don't, I'm not having the ability to go out and shoot these bands or do like portraits and all this awesome stuff. So this photo now,
that's amazing.
It's
cool, I wish I could do that.
But see, this is what's funny about this picture. Okay, so this picture is in the Rockies in Colorado. Now, I was not supposed to be here because what the idea was is my it was my parents' 30th anniversary, and so we were going to go to New Orleans, which I think is where they went for their first anniversary, so it's kind of like a 30-year kind of thing. So my two sisters were driving my dad down, and my brother and I were driving my mom down. And I'm crazy, I mean, so I just like we like get in the car and we're like getting ready to leave, and I was like, hey, you know how we were gonna like drive down the East Coast and go down like the Appalachian Trail through like Tennessee? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, how about we don't do that? And we go to South Dakota first, to the Badlands, because that's like one of my favorite places on the planet is the Badlands. And so both my brother and my mom are like, yeah, let's do that. So we actually left like a day early.
Oh, wow.
Because we were like packing up everything. And so we left, we went to the Badlands, and then, we were like, well, Colorado's right there. I love Colorado. They got great beer, and there's awesome photos to be taken. So then we shot down, went through Colorado, and we went up here. And we were just sitting there. We sat there for like an hour, just like taking pictures over the these lakes and these peaks, because it was just like incredible.
So this is like this is Flux Pavilion, man. So like this whole story was the first time actually like I felt like I was winning on my own. Like this guy, like the first time I even saw him, like my wife and I went up to oh my God, was that Upstate Concert Hall?
Oh, that
yeah, totally. So we went and saw him there, and like we were like big Flux fans, man. And then like getting hired by him personally was like the most amazing thing at like one of the biggest venues in Austin. And like being able to like sit down, like I got to hang out with this guy like one-on-one, because there was like nobody in his green room, like for 45 minutes, just like talking about like just life and just like production. And it was just like the most amazing moment. It was like I felt like it was a turning point in my career, my music career, because like now I'm starting to like get noticed in the EDM community. I mean, like Goldfish was always there, but it was like trying to get past just being Goldfish, Yeah.
This is actually the first time I ever shot a Pakistani wedding, and it was like through a third-party company. They like called me up and they're like, "Hey, we got a like wedding that we want you to do in it was like Albany or something like that. And I looked at the schedule, and it was 12 hours, and I was just like, and like they didn't say anything. All they said was like, it's a wedding, 12 hours, and I just immediately emailed back. I'm like, is this like Indian or Pakistani? Because I know those are like really, really long. They're like, yeah, it's a Pakistani wedding. And I was like, oh, okay. It's kind of one of those things where I don't want to say fake it till you make it, but like you're in a way in your mind, you're kind of like, can I do this? Like I've never done this before. Can I do this? And I was like kind of nervous going into the whole thing. And you know, I met her, and she was like, have you ever shot a Pakistani wedding before? And I was like totally honest. I was like, no, I've never done it, but I mean, like I've done, you know, lots of weddings. And she's like, that's cool. And so she just kind of told me like you know, what to expect, what to watch for. And you know, I was super concerned with getting every kind of detail, you know, especially details like this, you know. Yeah, there's so much detail going on in this photo that you're just like, you know, with the like, I think it's like hemp or whatever they do on their hands, and that dress, like I felt part of that dress, and it was like super heavy, and I was like, oh my gosh.
So here's one. This is of the trees. So this is like, again, I'm sorry with all the music stuff.
I
man.
love
this is like
though.
my whole life is just music photography.
I love it though.
So the story behind this one, like, it's pretty crazy, man. I'm not gonna name any names. I almost got like kicked out of the community, like blacklisted, and it ended up coming back around to this one show after all of this drama went down, and like me not being able to like one promoter trying to influence other promoters to not let me work anymore to like one of the promoters like really needing a favor. And again, because of like my manager, Justin, I love you, dude. Seriously, another shout out to Justin Benedict. Viridian Management is a true homie. Like he just knew like they were in a bind. They really needed someone for this show because this was a special show for him because this was like on the 1-year anniversary of Charles I's death. And like him and Charles were like homies. Like, so it was an important show for them, and he was doing like a second set dedicated towards Charles I. So they were in the bind, couldn't find anybody. Dude, I was at a hockey game like, oh my God, like an hour and a half away from Austin. And like he called me up, and I remember like my friend, like, because I took the call at the hockey game, and he's like, don't answer the phone, man. Don't answer that phone. He's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm just going to take it. And I'm like, I picked it up, and I'm like, yeah, dude, I got to like ditch. They want me. And he's like, I can't believe you're going to leave this hockey game. I mean, thankfully, like the home team was crushing it. So like they were up by like 5. It was like a ridiculous blowout. So I decided to take it, but it was just like cool. Because it was like, you know, you stick to your guns, right? Like for me, it was just like, I don't give away anything for free. Like, I just don't do it. I feel that it weakens the genre.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm 100%. Saying? Like, and it allows, and it's not like, I don't think it's like really the promoter's fault or anything, right? Because they're just so used to something being away that I feel that doesn't help out us other photographers. I don't even care if it's $50, $100, charge something, right?
Yeah. Like know your value.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, just it's better off for everybody, because when you want to get to that next stage, like you're going to be competing with the people again that are doing it for free. You know what I'm saying? And like,
there's always going to be someone who's doing it for free.
Yeah, and I feel that like sometimes promoters, maybe not management as much, but like promoters will take a lower quality photograph or video cut because it's free over something that costs a little bit of money. You know what I'm saying?
No, 100%.
But this show was like really cool, and like that picture in particular, it's just like, it's just the faces that this dude makes and how he gets into his music. And I can't, man. And it was just like a good feeling all around, because it was like I stuck to my guns. It was like I was going through this lull where I was like, oh my God, I'm about to like, my career's about to get shut down. And then like, it just came back around full circle, just being cool, being energized, like having positive energy. And then one dude being like, okay, like we'll just call Paxton. And like, I nailed it for him. You know what I'm saying? And then it just tripped that, it like negated everything else after that. Like all bad, and like, everyone's mood changed. Everybody was cool, and they're like, "All right, we get it." You know, it was like everybody apologized, hugged, whatever, man. It was cool though.
Everybody
like,
kissed and make
yeah,
up,
exactly,
you know?
man. And it was just like, yo, I'm not being mean. I can't do that anymore.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
No,
like
100%.
I feel that I've been in the game long enough to where like, you know, it's my profession.
Yeah.
This is how I eat.
Dude, I can't thank you enough for being up here.
No,
you know,
man,
like
thanks
this
for
this
inviting
was
me. It was
awesome. Like, I mean, especially you've been like one of the most positive people in like my career as a photographer.
Oh,
Like
thanks. I
literally
appreciate
everything.
that.
You know, you're so upbeat, and so I was like, when I was thinking about this, I'm like, I want to do this, and I'm like, who's gonna be the first? I actually waited because you were up here it was like, I think it was like during the holidays. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
yep.
You were up here, but like I wasn't ready, and so I could have had somebody up here. I was like, no, I'm gonna wait. I'll wait till Paxton's back up here, and I'm
man,
gonna ask
thanks.
Paxton if he wants to come up because he's just so upbeat, and I was like,
thanks,
yeah.
man. I appreciate. I just wish I had other stuff to show.
No,
you
man, they're
besides-
awesome. I
besides
love them.
music photos.
I love them, and I, you know, this was a lot of fun. I love doing it, but I mean, that does it for this one. So if you like what you see, hit the subscribe button. And we'll see you in the next video. I'll link down Paxton's social media down in the description, and we'll catch you in the next one.